We've been preaching on this for years and
Yeah.
warning people, this is coming because the
Right.
Bible says it. Again, people call us nuts. But now the secular world
Yeah.
recognizes it's not a possibility, it's a reality.
It is.
And not only is it a reality, all of the databases, everything that's absolutely necessary, it's already here. They know it's already here. When is it going to get rolled out?
Maybe it is already.
I'm glad you brought that up because I believe realistically it already is, but we don't know about it yet. And the reason I believe it already is rolled out, all the databases, all the information collected, all the controlling, all of the tracking, we know the basics, but the actual day where you worship the beast, it's just waiting for the beast to appear. And the rapture to take place. And along these lines,
I'm glad you used the word beast because I'm doing something here with these 4 verses. I've read chapter 13 of Revelation, verses 16, 17, 18, but here is verse 15, which is the verse that precedes everything we've been talking about. And I wanted to get your reaction to this in particular. Here it is, verse 15. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should speak, and cause that as many as would worship the image of the beast should be, that would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Now, we've been talking about the image of the beast for years and years and years. Right now, when I read this, it makes chills go up and down my spine because we're capable of this, what we are now calling artificial intelligence. And to me, that is describing, to a T, it is describing artificial intelligence.
It sure is. If I go back, let's say 20 years in a conversation, 25 years.
Right.
I remember talking with a gentleman about clones, and I brought in the image of the beast. Maybe it'll be a clone, right? But a clone is a human clone, whether or not it's a human, or, it's another story. But still, it's basically, at 25 years ago, we weren't really thinking about artificial intelligence being implemented into a clone. Well, now we look, forget the clone, forget the physical clone aspect of it, although it may be, but ultimately what this is, it's artificial intelligence. It's hard not to see it when you look at it now. The power that this has, the image of the beast has, is remarkable when we see it. And it's going to be so remarkable, it's going to be able to call out death to those who don't worship. It's going to be able to call out censorship of everything that doesn't go along with the system. And another thing that's interesting about this, when we hear a lot now about artificial intelligence getting out of control and could wipe out all of humanity, 2 dynamics. Jesus warned that unless the days were shortened, no flesh would be saved. I used to think it was nuclear or something like that. I don't think so. I think it's artificial intelligence is the warning there. And also interesting is we do know it appears that there's 2 people that are going to be able to control this artificial intelligence, the beast and the false prophet, because they seem to be over it because they're not eliminated by the artificial intelligence, but anyone that doesn't go along with the beast is eliminated.
And by the way, this thing we're talking about here, called the image of the beast in the good old King James Bible, I can visualize a television screen. And I can visualize maybe a room with a chair and a person sitting in that chair and looking out of the screen at me. And I walk into the room in front of that screen and it says, hello, you're Gary Stearman, aren't you? Yes, I am. How do you know? Well, we have databases. I know who you are. Sit down. I'd like to talk with you. And at that point in time, I'm talking to a television screen. Am I talking to the image of the beast, or is that the archetype of what this thing would be like? Because we're capable of doing that right now.
We're totally capable of it. And so you look at where we are. the world is so the technology is in place, and I believe what's going on is Antichrist is not going to waste 1 second building the infrastructure. Satan knows he doesn't have any time, so his man isn't going to appear as Mr. Fix It. Here I am to fix everything.
Yeah, right.
Until all the infrastructure has been laid. So the infrastructure of technology is here. I look at the last 4 years, what's happened here in the world has exposed the weaknesses of the global system. It's exposed the problems. It's exposed the problems. There's certain churches that are problems. There's certain medias that are a problem. There's certain groups of people that are a problem. Certain countries were more problem than others. Certain areas within certain countries are a problem. The last 4 years exposed where the holes were in the globalist system. And I look and think, regardless of where people were with the science of that we were told over the last 4 years, I want to be careful on what I say there. But regardless of which side you were on, everything was exposed. Those who are going to resist, what the globalists are, who the globalists are going to have to shut down,
right?
The type of media outlets when the knock comes on our door. We've got to shut these down. We got to shut these down, and so
if
forth.
I may interrupt you, I'm holding your book. I'm looking at the table of contents, chapter 2. It's called Beastly Deceptions. We're talking about the mark of the beast right now. What is the mark's purpose? Could things really get that bad? You asked that question as part of your chapter 2. And how will they sell the mark to the public? And how will God view the mark? Now, you go through all of these questions, a subject we happen to be talking about right now. And I got to tell you, I've got a little bit of a chill going down my spine. Do we live in that kind of world? And I'm thinking, yes, we do.
So I think it's a couple of different things. We're living in it right now, right? We're not living in the tribulation period. I believe we're going to be raptured. I believe 1 Thessalonians is absolutely clear. I mean, the Bible says the harpazo is going to happen. The rapture is going to take place. Comfort one another with these words. So right now, there's not a lot of comfort going on unless you're thinking rightly about what that passage teaches. Then you go, okay. And then 1 Thessalonians goes on to say, people can't stop reading there at the chapter break because it's all in the same context. Chapter 5, Paul writes, and he says, listen, when they say peace and safety, sudden destruction comes upon them, they shall not escape. So we have two different groups of people, those who are caught up, raptured,
yes,
and those who aren't. It's very clear in the context. So we're going to be raptured before the tribulation begins. However, we are definitely living through right now. This is an amazing generation to be alive in because we are living out this beast system that is coming about. And as Daniel was unnerved by the things that he saw, there's a lot of things that can unnerve you if you don't have the right perspective. I got to wake up every day and remind myself, all right, think about Jesus, think about where we're going, because if I just look at the news, I think I would lose my mind.
Now, I got to interrupt you right there because you said something that I want you to speak to in more detail. You've been a pastor teacher for many, many years in a city in Arizona and out there, beautiful land and wonderful people. And you have been a pastor and you've accomplished a lot as a pastor, but something is moving you to the next level, if you will, or to another level. And you have seen something that I think other people need to see. Now, what is that thing that has moved you in the direction you've gone?
Sure. So first off, pastor in California, not Arizona.
I didn't.
So no,
I'm sorry.
So no, don't be sorry. No, I mean, it's hard. People see
in
things
my
in
mind,
California.
I went back to Arizona, and
Arizona's nice too.
And, Arizona's nice too.
Yeah, there's a lot of wonderful places out there. California is the place that everybody's running from. But with that, so I've been a lead pastor for 2 decades. Prior to that, I was a pastor at Greg Laurie's church for several years. been in ministry for many years, about 30 years, and I'm still in ministry, but I recently stepped down from my position as a senior pastor at the church that I've was the pastor at, in order to pursue the things that we are doing right here, right, full time. I believe, Gary, we cannot waste any more time. And I'm looking at it going, okay, God's opening doors. I'm thinking I have to press as hard as I possibly can. People need to be warned. They need to hear about this. So I'm doing everything I can. Our staff and crew are doing everything that we can. You guys are here at Prophecy Watchers. There's no time to be wasted anymore. And I want to encourage everybody. We see the finish line. All of us would say in the prophecy world, we all say we see the finish line. Well, the Apostle Paul likened the Christian life to running the race, to somebody running track. And what happens when somebody runs track? When they come around the last turn, no matter how long the race is, when they come around the last turn, they see the finish line. What does every runner do? Every single runner runs harder and faster than they did the entire previous part of the race. When they see the finish line, they go as hard as they can. The guy in last place goes as hard as he can, even if he knows he's not going to win. He goes as hard as he can. You never, ever, ever see a professional or even an amateur runner see the finish line and go, man, I think I'm just going to pull up a chair here and watch all the runners go by. Never. But in the Christian community, people do that. And in the prophecy community especially, we should be the ones that are pressing harder than everybody else to the finish line. We can't waste any more time. You can't pull up the lazy boy chair and just sit there and go, I'm just going to watch and take in. No, you're going to take in everything that you can in order to give it out, because people need to hear about the hope of Jesus Christ. You know, you stock up your mind, you stock up your shelves, you stock up your bookcases, you stock up everything you can in order to give out and to give out everything that you possibly can.
Absolutely. And I think that's a wonderful, if you will, urging on your part to Christians. Hey, we really need to get serious right now, because things are happening exponentially, which is the way they happen in science. You know, scientific breakthroughs such as we're seeing right now in communications, in computing, in war machinery, you name it. We're going exponentially, and the church needs to move exponentially as well.
Absolutely. And also, you know, the church has really been exposed and over the last few years, and even now with what's going on with Israel, it's like the genuine church and the fake church, the genuine believer and those who are just plain church, and we're being exposed for what side we are really on. Are we really on the biblical side of Jesus, or are we just playing a part, taking the nice passages, pretending like everything is going to be normal, go back to normal? Everything is not going back to normal. We are not going back to where this world used to be. Everything is racing toward this finish line. And if somebody doesn't see it, it's either because they're just blind spiritually, or they choose to be blind to the facts that they see in the world that they're living in.
You know, as you were talking, and I was listening to you, but at the same time, I was looking through the table of contents of your book, Marking the Masses. And something that I had missed before was as looking at these chapter titles and subtitles, looking at this, I noticed a kind of urgency, if you will, that I had not seen before in the way that you develop your questions. Will the Antichrist system be totalitarian? How bad will it be? Will it replace cash? What about peace and safety? What about convenience and ease? What about financial rescue? What about storage of data that tracks you everywhere you go? And I'm just reading these subtitles as you were talking, and there is a sense of urgency there, and I have felt that same thing myself.
Oh, I totally see it as an urgent message that needs to get out there. And again, I just would encourage everybody to press forward as hard as they can. The one you listed several different questions. I just think, will it be totalitarian? Of course it will be. Will there be an end of cash? Of course. Interesting on the cash system, and that we hear about digital currencies, central bank digital currencies, and so forth. I have not heard a person yet, no matter what political side they're on or religious side, I haven't heard a person yet say to me, you know what I hope? I hope that these globalists get rid of cash and we all go to digital currency and are controlled. Nobody is saying that. People overall aren't excited about a lot of these plans. But again, the problem is they don't think through it enough to go to the Bible. You go to the Bible, you start realizing, hey, I've got answers. Hey, I've got hope. Because the reality of it is people can tell something is wrong and they don't like it. And too many are willing to just go along with it. And the deception is going to only get far, far worse than it is today.
I would urge our audience to go to Revelation chapter 13 and just reread it again in light of what we now know is happening in the world today. We used to read it as something in the far, far future that we really don't know what it's talking about. Like it's talking about the mark of the beast and buying and selling, and it's talking about the image of the beast and all of that. We really didn't know. We had no imagination about what all that meant, but now we do. I mean, it's looming into clear and plain view, and I think this should I think motivate us as Christians to really get out there and, as you said, work harder than ever before.
Oh, absolutely. I think of the words of Peter, 2 Peter chapter 3, where he writes about people in the last days and they walk according to their lusts. And in that, what do? They're scoffers in the last days, walking according to their own lusts, saying, where's the promise of his coming? Our fathers used to talk about this. And Peter calls them ignorant scoffers. The concept is they choose not to know. They choose to, even though they know what the truth is, they choose to believe the lie.
Yes.
And why? Well, he starts out with, they walk according to their own lusts, whether it be the perversions of the world or the lusts of money or the pride of life, whatever it is, right? They walk according to those things. I don't want to hear about your Jesus. And so they are ignorant. They choose not to hear these things. And then Peter goes to talk about creation. They deny that, even though they can see the evidence of it. So they know the truth. And then he talks about there's going to be a new heaven and a new earth. And then he tells the believer, what should we be doing? Since you know all these things are true, all these things are going to come about. There's going to be a new heaven and new earth. All Bible prophecy is going to be fulfilled. Therefore, what manner of persons ought you to be in holy conduct and godliness, hastening the day of the coming of the Lord. And that the term hastening, it all implies this is what we're supposed to be doing.
Tom Hughes, marking the masses, and you have caught the spirit of what's going on right now. I think in a way that you don't waste time when you read this book. It's packed with information. Could be a little scary, but you know what? I'm not afraid at all, because I have the Bible, the good old King James, and of course I read modern versions too. But the King James Bible speaks as clearly to the 21st century as any modern language translation. And it's what it's saying is that now we're getting so close we can understand Bible prophecy in a way we never have before.
Oh, absolutely. When I wrote the book, I wanted to make sure it moved fast, but it had information in it that people needed. You mentioned it being scary. I didn't think of it as being scary, but people have told me that.
Yeah.
But I cannot. Again, my mind constantly goes back to John the Baptist. He warned of judgment. It scared some of the religious people, but you know what? The purpose of the Bible's very clear. He warned of judgment in order to preach mercy and grace, and that was my goal in the book. The gospel's included at the end, and I look at it as something that's necessary to wake up the masses, because I did it in a way that wasn't preachy or religious. I wanted it to get in the hands of the masses of people.
Tom Hughes, Godspeed to you. Keep up the good work, and I can't wait for your next book, which I'm sure you're working on, right?
Yes, I am working on it. I prefer to be raptured first, but if we're not raptured, then we'll have the next book out.
Amen. This week in Bible Prophecy, I'm Gary Stearman. Thanks for joining us.